Afghanistan, officially the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, is a landlocked country located at the crossroads of Central Asia and South Asia. Referred to as the Heart of Asia, it is bordered by Pakistan to the east and south, Iran to the west, Turkmenistan to the northwest, Uzbekistan to the north, Tajikistan to the northeast, and China to the northeast and east. Occupying 652,864 square kilometers of land, the country is predominantly mountainous with plains in the north and the southwest, which are separated by the Hindu Kush mountain range. As of 2021, its population is 40.2 million, composed mostly of ethnic Pashtuns, Tajiks, Hazaras, and Uzbeks. Kabul is the country's largest city and serves as its capital. Human habitation in Afghanistan dates back to the Middle Paleolithic era, and the country's strategic location along the historic Silk Road has led it to being described, picturesquely, as the roundabout of the ancient world. Popularly referred to as the graveyard of empires, the land has historically been home to various peoples and has witnessed numerous military campaigns, including those by the Persians, Alexander the Great, the Maurya Empire, Arab Muslims, the Mongols, the British, the Soviet Union, and most recently by an American-led coalition. Afghanistan also served as the source from which the Greco-Bactrians and the Mughals, among others, rose to form major empires. The various conquests and periods in both the Iranian and Indian cultural spheres made the area a center for Zoroastrianism, Buddhism, Hinduism, and later Islam throughout history. The modern state of Afghanistan began with the Durrani dynasty in the 18th century, with the Durrani Afghan Empire being formed by Ahmad Shah Durrani. The Durrani Empire led conquests in which, at its peak, encompassed land that spanned from eastern Iran to northern India. Following its decline and the death of Ahmad Shah Durrani, and Timur Shah, it was divided into multiple smaller independent kingdoms, including but not limited to, Herat, Kandahar, and Kabul. Afghanistan would be reunited in the 19th century after wars of unification led by Dost Muhammad Khan, where he conquered the independent principalities in Afghanistan. Dost Muhammad died in 1863, weeks after his last campaign to unite Afghanistan, and as a result, threw Afghanistan back into civil war with his successors. During this time, Afghanistan became a buffer state in the great game between the British Empire and the Russian Empire. From India, the British attempted to subjugate Afghanistan but were repelled in the First Anglo-Afghan War. However, the Second Anglo-Afghan War saw a British victory and the successful establishment of British political influence over Afghanistan. Following the Third Anglo-Afghan War in 1919, Afghanistan became free of foreign dominance, and eventually emerged as the independent Kingdom of Afghanistan in June 1926 under Amanullah Khan. This monarchy lasted almost 50 years, until Zahir Shah was overthrown in 1973, following which the Republic of Afghanistan was established. Since the late 1970s, Afghanistan's history has been dominated by extensive warfare, including coups, invasions, insurgencies, and civil wars which would end twice with the victory of the Islamic fundamentalist Taliban. In 1979, the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan. Mujahideen fought against them in the Soviet-Afghan War and continued fighting amongst themselves following Soviet withdrawal in 1989. The Taliban controlled most of the country by 1996, but their Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan received little international recognition before its overthrow in the 2001 United States invasion of Afghanistan. The Taliban returned to power in 2021 following Kabul's capture by the Taliban and the concurrent overthrow of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan, ending the 2001-2021 war. Although initially claiming to form an inclusive government for the country, the Taliban in September 2021 re-established the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan with an interim government made up entirely of Taliban members. The regime currently remains internationally unrecognized. Afghanistan is prominently rich in natural resources, including lithium, iron, zinc, and copper, amongst many others. It is also the world's largest producer of opium, second largest producer of cannabis, and third largest of both saffron and cashmere. The country is a member of the South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation and a founding member of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Due to the effects of war in recent decades, the country has dealt with high levels of terrorism, poverty, and child malnutrition. Afghanistan's economy is the world's 96th largest, with a gross domestic product of $72.9 billion by purchasing power parity. The country fares much worse in terms of per capita GDP, ranking 169th out of 186 countries as of 2018. Etymology. Some scholars suggest that the root name Afghan is derived from the Sanskrit word Asvakan or Asakan, which was the name used for ancient inhabitants of the Hindu Kush. Asvakan literally means horsemen, horse breeders, or cavalrymen. However, others such as Ibrahim Khan have contended that the word Afghan comes from Bactrian. Historically, the ethnonym Afghan was used to refer to ethnic Pashtuns. The Arabic and Persian form of the name, Afn, was first attested in the 10th century geography book Hudud al-Alam. The last part of the name, Stan, is a Persian suffix meaning place of. Therefore, Afghanistan translates to land of the Afghans, or land of the Pashtuns in a historical sense. According to the third edition of the Encyclopedia of Islam, the name Afghanistan can be traced to the early 8th/14th century, when it designated the easternmost part of the Kardid realm. This name was later used for certain regions in the Afavid and Mughal empires that were inhabited by Afghans. While based on a state-supporting elite of Abdul/Duran Afghans, the Sads-Duran polity that came into being in 1160/1747 was not called Afghanistan in its own day. The name became a state designation only during the colonial intervention of the 19th century. Ancient history. Many empires and kingdoms have also risen to power in Afghanistan, such as the Greco-Bactrians, Indo-Scythians, Kushans, Kedarites, Hephthalites, Alkhans, Nezaks, Zunbils, Turk Shahis, Hindu Shahis, Laoks, Saffarids, Samanids, Ghaznavids, Gurids, Khaljas, Kartids, Lodis, Surs, Mughals, and finally, the Hotak and Durrani dynasties, which marked the political origins of the modern state. Throughout millennia, several cities within the modern-day Afghanistan served as capitals of various empires, namely, Bactria, Alexandria on the Oxus, Kapasi, Sigil, Kabul, Kunduz, Zaranjay, Firozkoh, Herat, Ghazna, Binban, and Kandahar. The country has been home to various peoples through the ages, among them the ancient Iranian peoples who established the dominant role of Indo-Iranian languages in the region. At multiple points, the land has been incorporated within vast regional empires, among them the Achaemenid Empire, the Macedonian Empire, the Maurya Empire, and the Islamic Empire. For its success in resisting foreign occupation during the 19th and 20th centuries, Afghanistan has been called the graveyard of empires, though it is unknown who coined the phrase. Prehistory and antiquity. Excavations of prehistoric sites suggest that humans were living in what is now Afghanistan at least 50,000 years ago, and that farming communities in the area were among the earliest in the world. An important site of early historical activities, many believe that Afghanistan compares to Egypt in terms of the historical value of its archaeological sites. Ancient era. Medieval history. Islamic conquest. Mongols and Babur with the Lodi dynasty. Modern history. Hotak dynasty. In 1709, Mirwais Hotak, a local Giltse tribal leader, successfully rebelled against the Safavids. He defeated Gurjan Khan and established his own kingdom. Mirwais died of natural causes in 1715 and was succeeded by his brother Abdul Aziz, who was soon killed by Mirwais' son Mahmud for possibly planning to concede territories back to the Safavids. Mahmud led the Afghan army in 1722 to the Persian capital of Isfahan, captured the city after the Battle of Gulnabad and proclaimed himself king of Persia. The Afghan dynasty was ousted from Persia by Nader Shah after the 1729 Battle of Damgan. Fall of the Hotak dynasty. Rise of the Durrani Empire. Objectives and invasions of India. Death of Ahmad Shah and his successors. Ahmad Shah Durrani had died in October 1772. What followed would be a civil war in succession, with his named successor, Timur Shah Durrani, succeeding him after the defeat of his brother, Sulayman Mirza. Timur Shah Durrani ascended to the throne in November 1772, having defeated a coalition under Shah Wali Khan, the influential prime minister of the Durrani Empire, and Humayun Mirza. Timur Shah began his reign by consolidating power toward himself and people loyal to him, purging Durrani Sardars and influential tribal leaders in Kabul and Kandahar to bring support toward himself. Timur Shah's reforms also saw the capital of the Durrani Empire being shifted from Kandahar to Kabul, being able to cover the empire better as a base of ordination since it was essentially the heartland of the empire. This reform saw Kabul as the modern capital of Afghanistan today. Having consolidated power to himself, Timur Shah would fight multiple series of rebellions to consolidate and hold the empire apart. Timur Shah would also lead campaigns into Punjab against the Sikhs like his father did, however being more successful. Most prominent example of his battles during this campaign would be where Timur Shah led his forces under Zangi Khan Durrani, with over 18,000 men total of Afghan, Qizilbash, and Mongol cavalrymen, against over 60,000 Sikh men. The Sikhs would lose over 30,000 in this battle and would stage a Durrani resurgence in Punjab. The Durranis lost Multan in 1772 after Ahmad Shah's death. Following this victory by Timur Shah was able to lay siege to Multan and recapture it, incorporating it into the Durrani Empire once again, reintegrating it as a province until the siege of Multan. Timur Shah would be succeeded by his son, Zaman Shah Durrani after his death on May 20, 1793. Timur Shah's reign oversaw the attempted stabilization and consolidation of the empire. However, Timur Shah had over 24 sons, a mistake that would plunge the empire in civil war over succession crises. Zaman Shah Durrani would succeed to the Durrani throne following the death of his father, Timur Shah Durrani. This instigated civil war with his brothers, Mahmud Shah Durrani, and Humayun Mirza revolting against him. With Humayun centered in Kandahar, and Mahmud Shah centered in Herat. Zaman Shah would defeat Humayun and also force the loyalty of Mahmud Shah Durrani. Securing his position on the throne, Zaman Shah had led 3 campaigns into Punjab, with the first 2 campaigns capturing Lahore, but being forced to retreat due to issues from a possible Qajar invasion, or his brother, Mahmud Shah Durrani revolting. Zaman Shah embarked on his 3rd campaign for Punjab in 1800 to deal with a rebellious Ranjit Singh. However, he was forced to withdraw, with his brother, Mahmud Shah Durrani revolting. Zaman Shah would be toppled from his reign, replaced by his brother, Mahmud Shah Durrani. However, just under 2 years in his reign, Mahmud Shah Durrani would be deposed by his brother, Shah Shuja Durrani, on July 13, 1803. Shah Shuja would attempt to consolidate the Durrani realm, which had been long striven by civil war. Shah Shuja would later be deposed by his brother at the Battle of Nimla, where Mahmud Shah Durrani would defeat and force Shah Shuja to flee, with Shah Mahmud usurping the throne again for his second reign beginning on May 3, 1809. Barakzai dynasty and British Wars. Contemporary history. Until 1946, King Zahir ruled with the assistance of his uncle, who held the post of Prime Minister and continued the policies of Nader Shah. Another of Zahir Shah's uncles, Shah Mahmud Khan, became Prime Minister in 1946 and began an experiment allowing greater political freedom, but reversed the policy when it went further than he expected. He was replaced in 1953 by Mohammad Daud Khan, the king's cousin and brother-in-law, and a Pashtun nationalist who sought the creation of a Pashtunistan, leading to highly tense relations with Pakistan. During his 10 years at the post until 1963, Daud Khan pressed for social modernization reforms and sought a closer relationship with the Soviet Union. Afterward, the 1964 constitution was formed, and the first non-royal prime minister was sworn in. King Zahir Shah, like his father Nader Shah, had a policy of maintaining national independence while pursuing gradual modernization, creating nationalist feeling, and improving relations with the United Kingdom. However, Afghanistan remained neutral and was neither a participant in World War II nor aligned with either power bloc in the Cold War thereafter. However, it was a beneficiary of the latter rivalry as both the Soviet Union and the United States vied for influence by building Afghanistan's main highways, airports, and other vital infrastructure in the post-war period. On a per capita basis, Afghanistan received more Soviet development aid than any other country. Afghanistan had, therefore, good relations with both Cold War enemies. In 1973, while the king was in Italy, Daud Khan launched a bloodless coup and became the first president of Afghanistan, abolishing the monarchy. Democratic Republic and Soviet War. Post-Cold War conflict. U.S. invasion and Islamic Republic. Second Taliban era. Geography. Afghanistan is located in southern Central Asia. The region centered at Afghanistan is considered the crossroads of Asia, and the country has had the nickname Heart of Asia. The renowned Urdu poet Allama Iqbal once wrote about the country: Asia is a body of water and earth, of which the Afghan nation is the heart. From its discord, the discord of Asia, and from its accord, the accord of Asia. At over 652,864 square kilometers, Afghanistan is the world's 41st largest country, slightly bigger than France and smaller than Myanmar, and about the size of Texas in the United States. There is no coastline, as Afghanistan is landlocked. Afghanistan shares its longest land border with Pakistan to the east and south, followed by borders with Tajikistan to the northeast, Iran to the west, Turkmenistan to the northwest, Uzbekistan to the north and China to the northeast. India recognizes a border with Afghanistan through Pakistani-administered Kashmir. Clockwise from southwest, Afghanistan shares borders with the Sistan and Baluchistan province, South Khorasan province and Razavi Khorasan province of Iran, Ahal region, Mari region, and Lebap region of Turkmenistan, Surxandrio region of Uzbekistan, Kotlan region and Gorno-Badakhshan autonomous region of Tajikistan, Xinjiang Uyghur autonomous region of China, and the Gilgit-Baltistan territory, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province and Balochistan province of Pakistan. The geography in Afghanistan is varied, but is mostly mountainous and rugged, with some unusual mountain ridges accompanied by plateaus and river basins. It is dominated by the Hindu Kush Range, the western extension of the Himalayas that stretches to eastern Tibet via the Pamir Mountains and Karakoram Mountains in Afghanistan's far northeast. Most of the highest points are in the east, consisting of fertile mountain valleys, often considered part of the roof of the world. The Hindu Kush ends at the west-central highlands, creating plains in the north and southwest, namely the Turkestan Plains and the Sistan Basin. These two regions consist of rolling grasslands and semi-deserts, and hot windy deserts, respectively. Forests exist in the corridor between Nuristan and Paktika provinces, and tundra in the northeast. The country's highest point is Nashak, at 7,492 m above sea level. The lowest point lies in Zhaozjan province along the Amu River bank, at 258 m above sea level. Despite having numerous rivers and reservoirs, large parts of the country are dry. The Enderheik-Sistan Basin is one of the driest regions in the world. The Amu Darya rises at the north of the Hindu Kush, while the nearby Hari Rud flows west towards Herat, and the Arghandab River from the central region southwards. To the south and west of the Hindu Kush flow a number of streams that are tributaries of the Indus River, such as the Helmand River. One exception is the Kabul River, which flows in an easterly direction to the Indus ending at the Indian Ocean. Afghanistan receives heavy snow during the winter in the Hindu Kush and Pamir Mountains, and the melting snow in the spring season enters the rivers, lakes, and streams. However, two-thirds of the country's water flows into the neighboring countries of Iran, Pakistan, and Turkmenistan. As reported in 2010, the state needs more than $2 billion to rehabilitate its irrigation systems so that the water is properly managed. The northeastern Hindu Kush mountain range, in and around the Badakhshan province of Afghanistan, is in a geologically active area where earthquakes may occur almost every year. They can be deadly and destructive, causing landslides in some parts or avalanches during the winter. The last strong earthquakes were in 1998, which killed about 6,000 people in Badakhshan near Tajikistan. This was followed by the 2002 Hindu Kush earthquakes, in which over 150 people were killed and over 1,000 injured. A 2010 earthquake left 11 Afghans dead, over 70 injured, and more than 2,000 houses destroyed. In June 2022, a destructive 5.9 earthquake struck near the border with Pakistan, killing at least 1,150 people and sparking fears of a major humanitarian crisis. Climate. Afghanistan has a continental climate with harsh winters in the central highlands, the glaciated northeast, and the Wakhan corridor, where the average temperature in January is below 15 degrees C and can reach 26 degrees C, and hot summers in the low-lying areas of the Sistan Basin of the southwest, the Jalalabad Basin in the east, and the Turkestan Plains along the Amu River in the north, where temperatures average over 35 degrees Celsius in July and can go over 43 degrees Celsius. The country is generally arid in the summers, with most rainfall falling between December and April. The lower areas of northern and western Afghanistan are the driest, with precipitation more common in the east. Although proximate to India, Afghanistan is mostly outside the monsoon zone, except the Nuristan province, which occasionally receives summer monsoon rain. Biodiversity. Several types of mammals exist throughout Afghanistan. Snow leopards, Siberian tigers, and brown bears live in the high-elevation alpine tundra regions. The Marco Polo sheep exclusively live in the Wakhan corridor region of northeast Afghanistan. Foxes, wolves, otters, deer, wild sheep, lynx, and other big cats populate the mountain forest region of the east. In the semi-desert northern plains, wildlife include a variety of birds, hedgehogs, gophers, and large carnivores such as jackals and hyenas. Gazelles, wild pigs and jackals populate the steppe plains of the south and west, while mongoose and cheetahs exist in the semi-desert south. Marmots and ibex also live in the high mountains of Afghanistan, and pheasants exist in some parts of the country. The Afghan hound is a native breed of dog known for its fast speed and its long hair. It is relatively known in the West. Endemic fauna of Afghanistan includes the Afghan flying squirrel, Afghan snowfinch, Afghan odin, Stigmella casei, Vulcaniella kabulensis, Afghan leopard gecko, Wheeleria parviflorelis, amongst others. Endemic flora include Iris afghanica. Afghanistan has a wide variety of birds despite its relatively arid climate. An estimated 460 species of which 235 breed within. The forest region of Afghanistan has vegetation such as pine trees, spruce trees, fir trees, and larches, whereas the steppe grassland regions consist of broadleaf trees, short grass, perennial plants, and shrublands. The colder high-elevation regions are composed of hardy grasses and small flowering plants. Several regions are designated protected areas. There are 3 national parks: Bandi-Amir, Wakhan, and Nuristan. Afghanistan had a 2018 Forest Landscape Integrity Index mean score of 8.85/10, ranking it 15th globally out of 172 countries. Demographics. The population of Afghanistan was estimated at 32.9 million as of 2019 by the Afghanistan Statistics and Information Authority, whereas the UN estimates over 38.0 million. In 1979 the total population was reported to be about 15.5 million. About 23.9% of them are urbanite, 71.4% live in rural areas, and the remaining 4.7% are nomadic. An additional 3 million or so Afghans are temporarily housed in neighboring Pakistan and Iran, most of whom were born and raised in those two countries. As of 2013, Afghanistan was the largest refugee-producing country in the world, a title held for 32 years. The current population growth rate is 2.37%, one of the highest in the world outside of Africa. This population is expected to reach 82 million by 2050 if current population trends continue. The population of Afghanistan increased steadily until the 1980s, when civil war caused millions to flee to other countries such as Pakistan. Millions have since returned, and the war conditions contribute to the country having the highest fertility rate outside Africa. Afghanistan's healthcare has recovered since the turn of the century, causing falls in infant mortality and increases in life expectancy, although it has the lowest life expectancy of any country outside Africa. This caused rapid population growth in the 2000s that has only recently started to slow down. The Gini coefficient in 2008 was 27.8. Ethnicity and languages. Afghans are divided into several ethno-linguistic groups. Off of sociological research data by the Asia Foundation in 2019, the Pashtuns are the largest ethnic group, comprising 39%, followed by Tajiks, comprising 37% of the country's population. The other two major ethnic groups are the Hazaras and Uzbeks. A further 10 other ethnic groups are recognized and each are represented in the Afghan national anthem. Dari and Pashto are the official languages of Afghanistan. Bilingualism is very common. Dari, which is a variety of and mutually intelligible with Persian, functions as the lingua franca in Kabul as well as in much of the northern and northwestern parts of the country. Native speakers of Dari, of any ethnicity, are sometimes called Farsi-ones. Pashto is the native tongue of the Pashtuns, although many of them are also fluent in Dari while some non-Pashtuns are fluent in Pashto. Despite the Pashtuns having been dominant in Afghan politics for centuries, Dari remained the preferred language for government and bureaucracy. According to CIA World Factbook, Dari Persian is spoken by 78% and functions as the lingua franca, while Pashto is spoken by 50%, Uzbek 10%, English 5%, Turkmen 2%, Urdu 2%, Pashto 1%, Nuristani 1%, Arabic 1%, and Balochi 1%. Data represent the most widely spoken languages, shares some to more than 100% because there is much bilingualism in the country and because respondents were allowed to select more than one language. There are a number of smaller regional languages, including Uzbek, Turkmen, Balochi, Pashto, and Nuristani. When it comes to foreign languages among the populace, many are able to speak or understand Hindustani, partly due to returning Afghan refugees from Pakistan and the popularity of Bollywood films respectively. English is also understood by some of the population, and has been gaining popularity as of the 2000s. Some Afghans retain some ability in Russian, which was taught in public schools during the 1980s. Religion. The CIA estimated in 2009 that 99.7% of the Afghan population was Muslim and most are thought to adhere to the Sunni Hanafi school. According to Pew Research Center, as much as 90% are of the Sunni denomination, 7% Shia, and 3% non-denominational. The CIA fact book variously estimates up to 89.7% Sunni or up to 15% Shia. Michael Izadi estimated 70% of the population to be followers of Sunni Islam, 25% Imami Shia Islam, 4.5% Ismaili Shia Islam, and 0.5% other religions. Afghan Sikhs and Hindus are also found in certain major cities accompanied by Gurdwaras and mandirs. According to Deutsche Welle in September 2021, 250 remain in the country after 67 were evacuated to India. There was a small Jewish community in Afghanistan, living mainly in Herat and Kabul. Over the years, this small community was forced leave due to decades of warfare and religious persecution. By the end of the 20th century, the entire community had emigrated to Israel and the United States, with the exception of one person, Herat-born Zablon Simintov. He remained for years, being the caretaker of the only remaining Afghan synagogue. After the second Taliban takeover, he left Afghanistan for the United States. Afghan Christians, who number 508,000, practice their faith secretly due to intense societal opposition, and there are no public churches. Urbanization. As estimated by the CIA World Factbook, 26% of the population was urbanized as of 2020. This is one of the lowest figures in the world. In Asia it is only higher than Cambodia, Nepal, and Sri Lanka. Urbanization has increased rapidly, particularly in the capital Kabul, due to returning refugees from Pakistan and Iran after 2001, internally displaced people, and rural migrants. Urbanization in Afghanistan is different from typical urbanization in that it is centered on just a few cities. The only city with over 1 million residents is its capital, Kabul, located in the east of the country. The other large cities are located generally in the ring around the Central Highlands, namely Kandahar in the south, Herat in the west, Mazar-i-Sharif and Kunduz in the north, and Jalalabad in the east. Education. Education in Afghanistan includes K-12 and higher education, which is overseen by the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Higher Education. There are over 16,000 schools in the country and roughly 9 million students. Of this, about 60% are males and 40% females. However, the new regime has thus far forbidden girls and female teachers from returning to secondary schools. Over 174,000 students are enrolled in different universities around the country. About 21% of these are females. Former Education Minister Ghulam Farooq Wardak had stated that construction of 8,000 schools is required for the remaining children who are deprived of formal learning. As of 2018, the literacy rate of the population age 15 and older is 43.02%. The top universities in Afghanistan are the American University of Afghanistan followed by Kabul University, both of which are located in Kabul. The National Military Academy of Afghanistan, modeled after the United States Military Academy at West Point, was a 4-year military development institution dedicated to graduating officers for the Afghan Armed Forces. The Afghan Defense University was constructed near Karga in Kabul. Major universities outside of Kabul include Kandahar University in the south, Herat University in the northwest, Balkh University and Kunduz University in the north, Nangarhar University and Khost University in the east. Kabul University was founded in 1932 and is a respected institute that played a significant part in the country's education. From the 1960s, the Kabul University was also a hotbed of radical political ideologies such as Marxism and Islamism, which played major parts in society, politics, and the war that began in 1978. After the Taliban regained power in 2021, it became unclear to what extent female education would continue in the country. In March 2022, after they had been closed for some time, it was announced that girls' schools after 6th grade would be reopened shortly. However, shortly before reopening, the order was rescinded and schools for older girls remained closed. Health. According to the Human Development Index, Afghanistan is the 15th least developed country in the world. The average life expectancy is estimated to be around 60 years. The country's maternal mortality rate is 396 deaths/100,000 live births, and its infant mortality rate is 66 to 112.8 deaths in every 1,000 live births. The Ministry of Public Health plans to cut the infant mortality rate to 400 for every 100,000 live births before 2020. The country has more than 3,000 midwives, with an additional 300 to 400 being trained each year. There are over 100 hospitals in Afghanistan, with the most advanced treatments being available in Kabul. The French Medical Institute for Children and Indira Gandhi Children's Hospital in Kabul are the leading children's hospitals in the country. Some of the other leading hospitals in Kabul include the Jamhuriyat Hospital and Jinnah Hospital. In spite of all this, many Afghans travel to Pakistan and India for advanced treatment. It was reported in 2006 that nearly 60% of the Afghan population lives within a 2-hour walk of the nearest health facility. Disability rate is also high in Afghanistan due to the decades of war. It was reported recently that about 80,000 people are missing limbs. Non-governmental charities such as Save the Children and Mahbubaz Promise assist orphans in association with governmental structures. Demographic and Health Surveys is working with the Indian Institute of Health Management Research and others to conduct a survey in Afghanistan focusing on maternal death, among other things. Governance. Following the effective collapse of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan during the 2021 Taliban offensive, the Taliban declared the country an Islamic Emirate. A new caretaker government was announced on September 7. As of September 8, 2021, no other country had formally recognized the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan as the de jure government of Afghanistan. A traditional instrument of governance in Afghanistan is the Loya Jirga, a Pashtun consultative meeting that was mainly organized for choosing a new head of state, adopting a new constitution, or to settle national or regional issues such as war. Loya Jirgas have been held since at least 1747, with the most recent one occurring in August 2020. Development of Taliban government. On August 17, 2021, the leader of the Taliban-affiliated Hezb-e-Islami Gulbuddin Party, Gulbuddin Hekmatyar, met with both Hamid Karzai, the former president of Afghanistan, and Abdullah Abdullah, the former chairman of the High Council for National Reconciliation and former chief executive, in Doha, Qatar, with the aim of forming a national unity government. President Ashraf Ghani, having fled the country during the Taliban advance to either Tajikistan or Uzbekistan, emerged in the United Arab Emirates and said that he supported such negotiations and was in talks to return to Afghanistan. Many figures within the Taliban generally agreed that continuation of the 2004 Constitution of Afghanistan may, if correctly applied, be workable as the basis for the new religious state, as their objections to the former government were political, and not religious. Hours after the final flight of American troops left Kabul on August 30, a Taliban official interviewed said that a new government would likely be announced as early as Friday, September 3 after Jumu'ah. It was added that Hibatullah Akhundzada would be officially named Emir, with cabinet ministers being revealed at the Ark in an official ceremony. Abdul Ghani Baradar would be named head of government as Prime Minister, while other important positions would go to Sirajuddin Haqqani and Mullah Yaqub. Beneath the Supreme Leader, day-to-day governance will be entrusted to the cabinet. According to CNN, the new government is likely to be a unitary Deobandist Islamic Republic. In a report by CNN News 18, sources said the new government was going to be governed similarly to Iran, with Haybatullah Akhundzada as supreme leader, similar to the role of Syed Ali Khomeini, and would be based out of Kandahar. Baradar or Yaqub would be head of government as prime minister. The government's ministries and agencies will be under a cabinet presided over by the prime minister. The supreme leader would preside over an executive body known Supreme Council with anywhere from 11 to 72 members. Abdul Hakim Ishaqi is likely to be promoted to Chief Justice. According to the report, the new government will take place within the framework of an amended 1964 Constitution of Afghanistan. However, later interviews disclosed to NEWS 18 that negotiations were not yet completed and that representatives were still in Kandahar, and that the announcement of the new government would not take place until September 4 or later. Government formation was further delayed, with the announcement postponed to sometime during the week of September 6, due to concerns about forming a broad-based government acceptable to the international community. It was later added, however, that the Taliban's Rahbari Shura, the group's leadership council, was divided between the hardline Haqqani network and moderate Abdul Ghani Baradar over appointments needed to form an inclusive government. This culminated in a skirmish which led to Baradar being injured and treated in Pakistan. It was speculated that the government would be announced on September 11, 2021, the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks, with invitations possibly being extended to the governments of Turkey, China, Iran, Pakistan, and Qatar. As of early September, the Taliban were planning the cabinet to be men only, stating that women would not be allowed to work in high-ranking posts in the government and that women were ruled out from the cabinet. Journalists and other human rights activists, mostly women, protested in Herat and Kabul, calling for women to be included in the cabinet. The acting cabinet announced on September 7 was men only, and the Ministry of Women's Affairs appeared to have been abolished. On March 23, 2022, there were reports a cabinet shake-up was underway as another meeting of the Leadership Council was held in Kandahar for the second time since the Taliban Islamic movement came to power as a way to get international recognition. The last meeting of the Leadership Council was held from August 28, 2021, to August 30, 2021. Administrative divisions. Afghanistan is administratively divided into 34 provinces. Each province has a governor and a capital. The country is further divided into nearly 400 provincial districts, each of which normally covers a city or several villages. Each district is represented by a district governor. The provincial governors are now appointed by the Prime Minister of Afghanistan, and the district governors are selected by the provincial governors. The provincial governors are representatives of the central government in Kabul and are responsible for all administrative and formal issues within their provinces. There are also provincial councils that are elected through direct and general elections for 4 years. The functions of provincial councils are to take part in provincial development planning and to participate in the monitoring and appraisal of other provincial governance institutions. According to Article 140 of the Constitution and the Presidential Decree on Electoral Law, mayors of cities should be elected through free and direct elections for a 4-year term. In practice, however, mayors are appointed by the government. The following is a list of all the 34 provinces in alphabetical order. Foreign relations. Afghanistan became a member of the United Nations in 1946. Historically, Afghanistan had strong relations with Germany, one of the first countries to recognize Afghanistan's independence in 1919, the Soviet Union, which provided much aid and military training for Afghanistan's forces and includes the signing of a Treaty of Friendship in 1921 and 1978, and India, with which a friendship treaty was signed in 1950. Relations with Pakistan have often been tense for various reasons such as the Durand Line border issue and alleged Pakistani involvement in Afghan insurgent groups. The present Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan is currently internationally unrecognized, but has had notable unofficial ties with China, Pakistan, and Qatar. Under the previous Islamic Republic of Afghanistan, it enjoyed cordial relations with a number of NATO and allied nations, particularly the United States, Canada, United Kingdom, Germany, Australia, and Turkey. In 2012, the United States and the then Republic in Afghanistan signed their Strategic Partnership Agreement in which Afghanistan became a major non-NATO ally. Such qualification was rescinded by U.S. President Joe Biden in July 2022. Military. The armed forces of the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan captured a large amount of weapons, hardware, vehicles, aircrafts, and equipment from the Afghan armed forces following the 2021 Taliban offensive and the fall of Kabul. The total value of the captured equipment has been estimated at $83 billion. Human rights. Homosexuality is taboo in Afghan society. According to the Penal Code, homosexual intimacy is punished by up to a year in prison. With implementing Sharia law, offenders can be punished by death. However, an ancient tradition involving male homosexual acts between youngsters and older men called bacha baza persists. Religious minorities such as Sikhs, Hindus, and Christians have reportedly faced persecution in the country. Since May 2022, all women in Afghanistan have been required by law to wear full body coverings when in public. In a May interview with Christiana Monpour, First Deputy Leader Sirajuddin Haqqani claimed the decree is only advisory and no form of hijab is compulsory in Afghanistan, though this contradicts the reality. It has been speculated that there is a genuine internal policy division over women's rights between hardliners, including leader Hibatullah Akhundzada, and pragmatists, though they publicly present a united front. Another decree was issued shortly after the first, requiring female TV presenters to cover their faces during broadcasts. In May 2022, the Taliban dissolved Afghanistan's Human Rights Commission along with 4 other government departments, citing the country's budget deficit. Economy. Afghanistan's nominal GDP was $21.7 billion in 2018, or $72.9 billion by purchasing power parity. Its GDP per capita is $2,024. Despite having $1 trillion or more in mineral deposits, it remains one of the world's least developed countries. Afghanistan's rough physical geography and its landlocked status has been cited as reasons why the country has always been among the least developed in the modern era, a factor where progress is also slowed by contemporary conflict and political instability. The country imports over $7 billion worth of goods but exports only $784 million, mainly fruits and nuts. It has $2.8 billion in external debt. The service sector contributed the most to the GDP, followed by agriculture and industry. While the nation's current account deficit is largely financed with donor money, only a small portion is provided directly to the government budget. The rest is provided to non-budgetary expenditure and donor-designated projects through the United Nations system and non-governmental organizations. The Afghanistan Bank serves as the central bank of the nation and the Afghani is the national currency, with an exchange rate of about 75 Afghanis to $1. A number of local and foreign banks operate in the country, including the Afghanistan International Bank, New Kabul Bank, Aziza Bank, Pashtani Bank, Standard Chartered Bank, and the First Microfinance Bank. One of the main drivers for the current economic recovery is the return of over 5 million expatriates, who brought with them entrepreneurship and wealth-creating skills as well as much-needed funds to start up businesses. Many Afghans are now involved in construction, which is one of the largest industries in the country. Some of the major national construction projects include the $35 billion new Kabul city next to the capital, the Ain-o Mina project in Kandahar, and the Ghazi Amanullah Khan town near Jalalabad. Similar development projects have also begun in Herat, Mazar-e-Sharif, and other cities. An estimated 400,000 people enter the labor market each year. Several small companies and factories began operating in different parts of the country, which not only provide revenues to the government but also create new jobs. Improvements to the business environment have resulted in more than $1.5 billion in telecom investment and created more than 100,000 jobs since 2003. Afghan rugs are becoming popular again, allowing many carpet dealers around the country to hire more workers. In 2016-17 it was the fourth most exported group of items. Afghanistan is a member of WTO, SAARC, ECO, and OIC. It holds an observer status in SCO. In 2018, a majority of imports come from either Iran, China, Pakistan, and Kazakhstan, while 84% of exports are to Pakistan and India. Since the Taliban's takeover of the country in August 2021, the United States has frozen about $9 billion in assets belonging to the Afghan Central Bank, blocking the Taliban from accessing billions of dollars held in U.S. bank accounts. Agriculture. Agricultural production is the backbone of Afghanistan's economy and has traditionally dominated the economy, employing about 40% of the workforce as of 2018. The country is known for producing pomegranates, grapes, apricots, melons, and several other fresh and dry fruits. It is also known as the world's largest producer of opium, as much as 16% or more of the nation's economy is derived from the cultivation and sale of opium. It is also one of the world's top producers of cannabis. Saffron, the most expensive spice, grows in Afghanistan, particularly Herat province. In recent years, there has been an uptick in saffron production, which authorities and farmers trying to replace poppy cultivation. Between 2012 and 2019, the saffron cultivated and produced in Afghanistan was consecutively ranked the world's best by the International Taste and Quality Institute. Production hit record high in 2019, and 1 kilogram is sold domestically between $634 and $1147. The availability of cheap diesel-powered water pumps imported from China and Pakistan, and in the 2010s, of cheap solar power to pump water, resulted in expansion of agriculture and population in the southwestern deserts of Afghanistan in Kandahar province, Helmand province, and Nimruz province in the 2010s. Wells have gradually been deepened, but water resources are limited. Opium is the major crop, but as of 2022, was under attack by the new Taliban government which, in order to suppress opium production, was systematically suppressing water pumping. Mining. The country's natural resources include coal, copper, iron ore, lithium, uranium, rare earth elements, chromite, gold, zinc, talc, barite, sulfur, lead, marble, precious and semi-precious stones, natural gas, and petroleum. In 2010, U.S. and Afghan government officials estimated that untapped mineral deposits located in 2007 by the U.S. Geological Survey are worth at least $1 trillion. Michael E. O'Hanlon of the Brookings Institution estimated that if Afghanistan generates about $10 billion per year from its mineral deposits, its gross national product would double and provide long-term funding for Afghan security forces and other critical needs. The United States Geological Survey estimated in 2006 that northern Afghanistan has an average 460 million m3 of crude oil, 440 billion m3 of natural gas, and 67 billion L of natural gas liquids. In 2011, Afghanistan signed an oil exploration contract with China National Petroleum Corporation for the development of 3 oil fields along the Amu Darya River in the north. The country has significant amounts of lithium, copper, gold, coal, iron ore, and other minerals. The Khanishin carbonatite in Helmand province contains 1 million tons of rare earth elements. In 2007, a 30-year lease was granted for the Anak copper mine to the China Metallurgical Group for $3 billion, making it the biggest foreign investment and private business venture in Afghanistan's history. The state-run Steel Authority of India won the mining rights to develop the huge Hajagak iron ore deposit in central Afghanistan. Government officials estimate that 30% of the country's untapped mineral deposits are worth at least $1 trillion. One official asserted that this will become the backbone of the Afghan economy, and a Pentagon memo stated that Afghanistan could become the Saudi Arabia of lithium. The lithium reserves of 21 million tons could amount to the ones of Bolivia, which is currently viewed as the country with the largest lithium reserves. Other larger deposits are the ones of bauxite and cobalt. In a 2011 news story, the CSM reported, the United States and other Western nations that have borne the brunt of the cost of the Afghan war have been conspicuously absent from the bidding process on Afghanistan's mineral deposits, leaving it mostly to regional powers. Access to biocapacity in Afghanistan is lower than world average. In 2016, Afghanistan had 0.43 global hectares of biocapacity per person within its territory, much less than the world average of 1.6 global hectares per person. In 2016, Afghanistan used 0.73 global hectares of biocapacity per person, their ecological footprint of consumption. This means they use just under double as much biocapacity as Afghanistan contains. As a result, Afghanistan is running a biocapacity deficit. Infrastructure. Energy. According to the World Bank, 98% of the rural population have access to electricity in 2018, up from 28% in 2008. Overall, the figure stands at 98.7%. As of 2016, Afghanistan produces 1,400 megawatts of power, but still imports the majority of electricity via transmission lines from Iran and the Central Asian states. The majority of electricity production is via hydropower, helped by the amount of rivers and streams that flow from the mountains. However, electricity is not always reliable and blackouts happen, including in Kabul. In recent years, an increasing number of solar, biomass and wind power plants have been constructed. Currently under development are the Kasa 1000 project, which will transmit electricity from Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan, and the Turkmenistan-Afghanistan-Pakistan-India gas pipeline. Power is managed by the Afghanistan Breshna Sherkat. Important dams include the Kajaka Dam, Dala Dam, and the Sarday Band Dam. Tourism. Tourism is a small industry in Afghanistan due to security issues. Nevertheless, some 20,000 foreign tourists visit the country annually as of 2016. In particular, an important region for domestic and international tourism is the picturesque Bamyan Valley, which includes lakes, canyons, and historical sites, helped by the fact it is in a safe area away from insurgent activity. Smaller numbers visit and trek in regions such as the Wakhan Valley, which is also one of the world's most remote communities. From the late 1960s onwards, Afghanistan was a popular stop on the famous Hippie Trail, attracting many Europeans and Americans. Coming from Iran, the trail traveled through various Afghan provinces and cities including Herat, Kandahar, and Kabul before crossing to northern Pakistan, northern India, and Nepal. Tourism peaked in 1977, the year before the start of political instability and armed conflict. The city of Ghazni has significant history and historical sites, and together with Bamyan City have in recent years been voted Islamic Cultural Capital and South Asia Cultural Capital respectively. The cities of Herat, Kandahar, Balkh, and Zaranjay are also very historic. The minaret of Jam in the Hari River Valley is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. A cloak reputedly worn by Islam's Prophet Muhammad is kept inside the Shrine of the Cloak in Kandahar, a city founded by Alexander the Great and the first capital of Afghanistan. The citadel of Alexander in the western city of Herat has been renovated in recent years and is a popular attraction. In the north of the country is the Shrine of Ali, believed by many to be the location where Ali was buried. The National Museum of Afghanistan is located in Kabul and hosts a large number of Buddhist, Bactrian Greek and early Islamic antiquities. The museum suffered greatly by civil war but has been slowly restoring since the early 2000s. Communication. Telecommunication services in Afghanistan are provided by Afghan Telecom, Afghan Wireless, Etisalat, MTN Group, and Roshan. The country uses its own space satellite called Afghansat-1, which provides services to millions of phone, internet, and television subscribers. By 2001, following years of civil war, telecommunications was virtually a non-existent sector, but by 2016 it had grown to a $2 billion industry, with 22 million mobile phone subscribers and 5 million internet users. The sector employs at least 120,000 people nationwide. Transportation. Due to Afghanistan's geography, transport between various parts of the country has historically been difficult. The backbone of Afghanistan's road network is Highway 1, often called the Ring Road, which extends for 2,210 kilometers and connects 5 major cities: Kabul, Ghazni, Kandahar, Herat, and Mazar-i-Sharif, with spurs to Kunduz and Jalalabad and various border crossings, while skirting around the mountains of the Hindu Kush. The Ring Road is crucially important for domestic and international trade and the economy. A key portion of the Ring Road is the Salan Tunnel, completed in 1964, which facilitates travel through the Hindu Kush mountain range and connects northern and southern Afghanistan. It is the only land route that connects Central Asia to the Indian subcontinent. Several mountain passes allow travel between the Hindu Kush and other areas. Serious traffic accidents are common on Afghan roads and highways, particularly on the Kabul-Kandahar and the Kabul-Jalalabad road. Traveling by bus in Afghanistan remains dangerous due to militant activities. Air transport in Afghanistan is provided by the national carrier, Ariana Afghan Airlines, and by the private company Chem Air. Airlines from a number of countries also provide flights in and out of the country. These include Air India, Emirates, Gulf Air, Iran Asaman Airlines, Pakistan International Airlines, and Turkish Airlines. The country has 4 international airports: Hamid Karzai International Airport, Kandahar International Airport, Herat International Airport, and Mazar-i-Sharif International Airport. Including domestic airports, there are 43. Bagram Air Base is a major military airfield. The country has 3 rail links: 1. A 75-kilometer line from Mazar-i-Sharif to the Uzbekistan border, a 10-kilometer long line from Toragundi to the Turkmenistan border, and a short link from Akina across the Turkmen border to Kirki, which is planned to be extended further across Afghanistan. These lines are used for freight only and there is no passenger service. A rail line between Kaf, Iran, and Herat, western Afghanistan, intended for both freight and passengers, is under construction as of 2019. About 125 kilometers of the line will lie on the Afghan side. There are various proposals for the construction of additional rail lines in the country. Private vehicle ownership has increased substantially since the early 2000s. Taxis are yellow in color and consist of both cars and auto rickshaws. In rural Afghanistan, villagers often use donkeys, mules, or horses to transport or carry goods. Camels are primarily used by the Kutchi nomads. Bicycles are popular throughout Afghanistan. Culture. Afghans have both common cultural features and those that differ between the regions of Afghanistan, each with distinctive cultures partly as a result of geographic obstacles that divide the country. Family is the mainstay of Afghan society, and families are often headed by a patriarch. In the southern and eastern region, the people live according to the Pashtun culture by following Pashtunwali. Key tenets of Pashtunwali include hospitality, the provision of sanctuary to those seeking refuge, and revenge for the shedding of blood. The Pashtuns are largely connected to the culture of Central Asia and the Iranian plateau. The remaining Afghans are culturally Persian and Turkic. Some non-Pashtuns who live in proximity with Pashtuns have adopted Pashtunwali in a process called Pashtunization, while some Pashtuns have been Persianized. Those who have lived in Pakistan and Iran over the last 30 years have been further influenced by the cultures of those neighboring nations. The Afghan people are known to be strongly religious. Afghans, particularly Pashtuns, are noted for their tribal solidarity and high regard for personal honor. One writer considers the tribal system to be the best way of organizing large groups of people in a country that is geographically difficult, and in a society that, from a materialistic point of view, has an uncomplicated lifestyle. There are various Afghan tribes, and an estimated 2-3 million nomads. Afghan culture is deeply Islamic, but pre-Islamic practices persist. One example is bacha-bazi, a term for activities involving sexual relations between older men and younger adolescent men, or boys. Child marriage is prevalent in Afghanistan. The legal age for marriage is 16. The most preferred marriage in Afghan society is to one's parallel cousin, and the groom is often expected to pay a bride price. In the villages, families typically occupy mud brick houses, or compounds with mud brick or stone-walled houses. Villages typically have a headman, a master for water distribution, and a religious teacher. Men would typically work on the fields, joined by women during harvest. About 15% of the population are nomadic, locally called caucus. When nomads pass villages, they often buy supplies such as tea, wheat, and kerosene from the villagers. Villagers buy wool and milk from the nomads. Afghan clothing for both men and women typically consists of various forms of shalwar kameez, especially parahan tunban and kaith partug. Women would normally wear a chador for head covering. Some women, typically from highly conservative communities, wear the burqa, a full body covering. These were worn by some women of the Pashtun community well before Islam came to the region, but the Taliban enforced this dress on women when they were in power. Another popular dress is the chaupan, which acts as a coat. The caracal is a hat made from the fur of a specific regional breed of sheep. It was favored by former kings of Afghanistan and became known to much of the world in the 21st century when it was constantly worn by President Hamid Karzai. The pakal is another traditional hat originating from the far east of the country. It was popularly worn by the guerrilla leader Ahmad Shah Massoud. The Mazari hat originates from northern Afghanistan. Architecture. The nation has a complex history that has survived either in its current cultures or in the form of various languages and monuments. Afghanistan contains many remnants from all ages, including Greek and Buddhist stupas, monasteries, monuments, temples and Islamic minarets. Among the most well-known are the Great Mosque of Herat, the Blue Mosque, the Minaret of Jam, the Chil Zina, the Kala-i Bast in Lashkargah, the ancient Greek city of Ai Khanum. However, many of its historic monuments have been damaged in modern times due to the civil wars. The two famous Buddhas of Bamiyan were destroyed by the Taliban, who regarded them as idolatrous. Despite that, archaeologists are still finding Buddhist relics in different parts of the country, some of them dating back to the 2nd century. As there was no colonialism in the modern era in Afghanistan, European-style architecture is rare but does exist. The Victory Arch at Pakistan and the Darul Aman Palace in Kabul were built in this style in the 1920s by the Afghans themselves. Art and ceramics. Carpet weaving is an ancient practice in Afghanistan, and many of these are still handmade by tribal and nomadic people today. Carpets have been produced in the region for thousands of years and traditionally done by women. Some crafters express their feelings through the designs of rugs. For example, after the outbreak of the Soviet-Afghan War, war rugs, a variant of Afghan rugs, were created with designs representing pain and misery caused by the conflict. Every province has its own specific characteristics in making rugs. In some of the Turkic-populated areas in the northwest, bride and wedding ceremony prices are driven by the bride's weaving skills. Pottery has been crafted in Afghanistan for millennia. The village of Istalif, north of Kabul, is in particular a major center, known for its unique turquoise and green pottery, and their methods of crafting have remained the same for centuries. Much of lapis lazuli stones were earthed in modern-day Afghanistan, which were used in Chinese porcelain as cobalt blue, later used in ancient Mesopotamia and Turkey. The lands of Afghanistan have a long history of art, with the world's earliest known usage of oil painting found in cave murals in the country. A notable art style that developed in Afghanistan and eastern Pakistan is Gandhara art, produced by a fusion of Greco-Roman art and Buddhist art between the 1st and 7th centuries CE. Later eras saw increased use of the Persian miniature style, with Kamaldin Behzad of Herat being one of the most notable miniature artists of the Timurid and early Safavid periods. Since the 1900s, the nation began to use Western techniques in art. Abdul Ghaffur Breshna was a prominent Afghan painter and sketch artist from Kabul during the 20th century. Media and entertainment. Afghanistan has around 350 radio stations and over 200 television stations. Radio Television Afghanistan, originating from 1925, is the state public broadcaster. Television programs began airing in the 1970s, and today there are many private television channels such as Tolo and Shamshad TV. The first Afghan newspaper was published in 1873, and there are hundreds of print outlets today. By the 1920s, Radio Kabul was broadcasting local radio services. Voice of America, BBC, and Radio Free Europe/Radio Liberty broadcast in both of Afghanistan's official languages on radio. Press restrictions have been gradually relaxed and private media diversified since 2002, after more than 2 decades of tight controls. Afghans have long been accustomed to watching Indian Bollywood films and listening to its filmy songs. It has been claimed that Afghanistan is among the biggest markets for the Hindi film industry. The stereotypes of Afghans in India have also been represented in some Bollywood films by actors. Many Bollywood film stars have roots in Afghanistan, including Salman Khan, Saif Ali Khan, Amir Khan, Feroz Khan, Kader Khan, Nasiruddin Shah, Zareen Khan, Selina Yately, and a number of others. Several Bollywood films have been shot inside Afghanistan, including Dermatma, Kudagawa, Escape from Taliban, and Kabul Express. Music. Afghan classical music has close historical links with Indian classical music and use the same Hindustani terminology and theories like raga. Genres of this style of music include ghazal and instruments such as the Indian tabla, sitar, and harmonium, and local instruments like zurbagali, as well as dairi and tanbur, which are also known in Central Asia, the Caucasus, and the Middle East. The rubab is the country's national instrument and precurses the Indian sarod instrument. Some of the famous artists of classical music include Ustad Sarahang and Sarban. Pop music developed in the 1950s through Radio Kabul and was influential in social change. During this time female artists also started appearing, at first Merman Perwin. Perhaps the most famous artist of this genre was Ahmed Zahir, who synthesized many genres and continues to be renowned for his voice and rich lyrics long after his death in 1979. Other notable masters of traditional or popular Afghan music include Nashenaz, Ubaidullah Jan, Mawash, Ahmed Wali, Farhad Darya, and Nakama Dadadan is the national dance of Afghanistan, a group dance popularly performed by Afghans of all backgrounds. The dance is considered part of Afghan identity. Cuisine. Afghan cuisine is largely based upon the nation's chief crops, such as wheat, maize, barley, and rice. Accompanying these staples are native fruits and vegetables as well as dairy products such as milk, yogurt, and whey. Kabuli Pahlaw is the national dish of Afghanistan. The nation's culinary specialties reflect its ethnic and geographic diversity. Afghanistan is known for its high-quality pomegranates, grapes, and sweet melons. Tea is a favorite drink among Afghans, and a typical diet consists of naan, yogurts, rice, and meat. Literature. Classic Persian and Pashto poetry are a cherished part of Afghan culture. Poetry has always been one of the major educational pillars in the region, to the level that it has integrated itself into culture. One of the poetic styles is called Landay. A popular theme in Afghan folklore and mythology are divs, monstrous creatures. Thursdays are traditionally poetry night in the city of Herat when men, women, and children gather and recite both ancient and modern poems. The Afghan region has produced countless Persian-speaking poets and writers from the Middle Ages to the present day, among which three mystical authors are considered true national glories, namely, Khwaja Abdullah Ansari of Herat, a great mystic and Sufi saint in the 11th century, Sanai of Ghazni, author of mystical poems in the 12th century, and, finally, Rumi of Balkh, in the 13th century, considered the Persephonist throughout the world as the greatest mystical poet of the entire Muslim world. The Afghan Pashto literature, although quantitatively remarkable and in great growth in the last century, has always had an essentially local meaning and importance, feeling the influence of both Persian literature and the contiguous literatures of India. Both main literatures, from the second half of the 19th century, have shown themselves to be sensitive to genres, movements, and stylistic features imported from Europe. Kushal Khan Khattak of the 17th century is considered the national poet. Other notable poets include Rubiya Baqi, Jami, Rahman Baba, Kalilola Khalili, and Perween Pashwak. Holidays and festivals. Afghanistan's official New Year starts with Nowruz, an ancient tradition that started as a Zoroastrian celebration in present-day Iran, and with which it shares the annual celebration along with several other countries. It occurs every year at the vernal equinox. In Afghanistan, Nowruz is typically celebrated with music and dance, as well as holding buzkashi tournaments. Yald, another nationally celebrated ancient tradition, commemorates the ancient goddess Mithra and marks the longest night of the year on the eve of the winter solstice, during which families gather together to recite poetry and eat fruits, particularly the red fruits watermelon and pomegranate, as well as mixed nuts. Religious festivals are also celebrated, as a predominantly Muslim country. Islamic events and festivals such as Ramadan, Eid al-Fitr and Ashura are widely celebrated annually in Afghanistan. The Sikh festival of Vaisakhi is celebrated by the Sikh community and the Hindu festival Diwali by the Hindu community. National Independence Day is celebrated on August 19 to mark the Anglo-Afghan Treaty of 1919 under King Amanullah Khan and the country's full independence. Several international celebrations are also officially held in Afghanistan, such as International Workers' Day and International Women's Day. Some regional festivals include the Pamir Festival, which celebrates the culture of the Wakhi and Kyrgyz peoples, the Red Flower Festival in Mazar-i-Sharif and the Dambora Festival in Bamyan Province. Sports. Sport in Afghanistan is managed by the Afghan Sports Federation. Cricket and association football are the two most popular sports in the country. The Afghan Sports Federation promotes cricket, association football, basketball, volleyball, golf, handball, boxing, taekwondo, weightlifting, bodybuilding, track and field, skating, bowling, snooker, chess, and other sports. Afghanistan's sports teams are increasingly celebrating titles at international events. Basketball team won the first team sports title at the 2010 South Asian Games. Later that year, the country's cricket team followed it with the winning of 2009 10 ICC Intercontinental Cup. In 2012, the country's 3x3 basketball team won the gold medal at the 2012 Asian Beach Games. In 2013, Afghanistan's football team followed as it won the SAFF Championship. The Afghan national cricket team, which was formed in 2001, participated in the 2009 ICC World Cup qualifier, 2010 ICC World Cricket League Division 1 and the 2010 ICC World 2020. It won the ACC 2020 Cup in 2007, 2009, 2011 and 2013. The team eventually made it and played in the 2015 Cricket World Cup. The Afghanistan Cricket Board is the official governing body of the sport and is headquartered in Kabul. The Ulu Koza-e Kabul International Cricket Ground serves as the nation's main cricket stadium. There are several other stadiums throughout the country, including the Ghazi Amanullah Khan International Cricket Stadium near Jalalabad. Domestically, cricket is played between teams from different provinces. The Afghanistan national football team has been competing in international football since 1941. The national team plays its home games at the Ghazi Stadium in Kabul, while football in Afghanistan is governed by the Afghanistan Football Federation. The national team has never competed or qualified for the FIFA World Cup but has recently won an international football trophy in 2013. The country also has a national team in the sport of futsal, a 5-a-side variation of football. The traditional and the national sport of Afghanistan is buzkashi, mainly popular in the north, but also having a following in other parts of the country. It is similar to polo, played by horsemen in two teams, each trying to grab and hold a goat carcass. The Afghan hound originated in Afghanistan and was formerly used in wolf hunting. In 2002, traveler Rory Stewart reported that dogs were still used for wolf hunting in remote areas. See also: Outline of Afghanistan. Explanatory notes. References.